Welcome to part 24 of Izuku Midoriya had the Omnitrix. I don't want to keep any of you waiting, so let's get straight into the video. In a world where everyone is special, no one is. That is a reality. In a world full of quirks, there are only 3 ways you can stand out, but only one that matters. Quirkless people stand out from the crowd, but as they aren't special, they're seen as useless and discarded. Villains stand out from the crowd, tormented people whose powers led them against the flow of society. Ordinary people who couldn't control their nature were vilified and turned into objects of hatred and contempt. Only heroes, bastions of society with incredible power that have spent their entire lives training and nurturing their abilities, can stand out and truly be accepted. Michael always admired heroes. Since he was a child, he admired them and wanted to be one. Moreover, he came from a prestigious family of heroes himself, so as the only child in the family, he was expected to live up to the expectations placed upon him. He trained and practiced to become a hero. His grades were top of the class and he would ace every mock test he ever got. When the time came to enter high school, he secured a spot at the most prestigious hero academy in the US. His studies continued there. He would become the greatest hero in his class and secure a good position by the time he graduated. Unfortunately, things didn't go according to plan. He quickly found himself overwhelmed with the work. He now found himself in an environment filled with people stronger, more talented than him, and struggled to keep up. For his whole first year experience, he trained harder than ever, seeking to become stronger, more powerful. Yet all his efforts proved unsuccessful. Despite all his training, his quirk Bright Star didn't improve, nor did his way of using it. The second year selection trials came around, an event not unlike the USJ, where young heroes got to show their mettle in front of established pro heroes, and Michael was desperate to stand out. He didn't want to disappoint his family. He wouldn't fail to live up to his parents' expectations, so he sought the only way he could think of to gain more power, a quirk enhancer. He did well for himself in the event, securing an internship at the Rank 32's hero agency. Although at first he seemed to be keeping up, Michael quickly fell out of favor with the hero. His power didn't live up to his expectations. His desperation grew. Michael Morningstar started using the quirk enhancers more and more. By the time he became a 3rd year, he was completely and utterly dependent on them. He couldn't even go through a typical training exercise without using them. It was during a one-on-one match. His classmate had been taunting him for being so weak beforehand. Once the match began, Michael went all out, shooting blast after blast of energy at his opponent. His classmate was quickly defeated, but Michael didn't stop shooting. "Who's weak now? Who's worthless now?" he shouted. The resentment he felt interacted with his quirk. Instead of releasing the power he had stored up, Michael started absorbing his classmate's energy, draining him of all his life force, accidentally leaving him as a dead husk. His quirk relied on absorbing energy from the sun and stars. He would then use this energy as blasts or to fly. Since the quirk enhancers happened, he found himself with enough energy to cover his whole body in a golden aura. He was more powerful than ever. But that feeling just now, it was much better. It was power beyond his wildest imagination. "Michael, what did you do?" the instructor whispered, snapping to attention and running after Michael to restrain him. He had a taste, and now he couldn't stop. Before he realized it, he had killed his entire class, including his instructors. Feeling satiated, Michael returned home. As per usual, his parents weren't there, so he went about his day normally. But when he looked in the mirror, he found his appearance disheveled. The pretty boy he had been was no longer staring back at him. Instead, something that closely resembled a zombie took its place. "No way someone that looks like that can ever become a hero," he told his reflection. That's when his actions caught up with his conscience. He had become nothing more than a petty villain. The blessing he had all his life just turned into a curse. He had brought shame to his family, but he didn't feel any remorse. On the contrary, he wanted more. Now that he tasted what it felt like to absorb that power, he wanted even more. He turned his sights on the largest source of power he could think of. Surely that would satiate his newfound hunger. So after grabbing the necessities, he ran away from home, heading to Japan where the world's greatest hero lived. His appearance gained him many hostile looks and reactions on the street, but that didn't bother the boy. Once he got to Japan, he tried to start many commotions, but at best, a small fry hero would show up, dying while showcasing his best attempt at bravery. After killing a hero, Michael would get his normal appearance back, although it lasted mere moments before returning to the disheveled look. It was during this time that Michael was approached by a man wearing a green coat and a strange plague mask. The man was composed yet fierce. He offered Michael a position amongst his organization, promising him power and a place to belong as long as he offered his services and loyalty in exchange. The boy quickly accepted the offer. With this position came many changes. Chisaki didn't like filthy people, and with his regular appearance, there was no way Michael fit the criteria. So was given a medieval metal outfit that came with a helmet. Along with that came a new name, Dark Star. One thing led to another, and when the Saikai were about to fall, Dark Star jumped ship, joining the League of Villains instead. It hadn't been long since Michael had joined the League, and from the moment he did, things only seemed to go downhill. Sure, they had some minor wins like defeating Chisaki and taking his life's work, but they had suffered a significant blow when Kurogiri was captured by the heroes. Michael fought for the League, essentially as a replacement for Magna, but with every move he made, he was looked upon skeptically, as if he were to betray the group at a moment's notice. Still, Michael created blossoming friendships with his newfound allies. He did not intend to leave this group. They may be living in a filthy, rundown shack for the time being, something which Chisaki would have never allowed, and their equipment may be breaking, but they showed promise. After all, Twice, Toga, Muscular, Dabi, even Shigaraki all had great strength and showed even greater promise than the Yakuza ever did. One day, as they sat in the shithole they called their base, an argument arose between Spinner and their fearless leader. "I don't get why we were just sitting around doing nothing," the lizard shouted, grabbing his boss by the collar and bringing him closer. "I was ready to have some new life breath into me. To be inspired. So answer me this, Shigaraki. Where are we going?" It was a question that everyone had been asking themselves. Their movements as of late were careful but also desperate. They were just going around, taking money from smaller syndicates, doing nothing of worth. Something which made Michael and Muscular complain often. With a disgusted and confused look, Shigaraki looked at Spinner, opened his mouth and started, "Like I said." Shigaraki was interrupted before he could say anything of worth. What seemed like earthquakes resounded around them, the house shaking to its foundation. The noise only became louder as the shaking became more and more intense. Curious as to the origin, the group rushed outside. Once out, they saw a gigantic figure burst out of the ground, revealing itself to the group.
"I've been looking. Finally found you."
The giant's voice echoed through the forest.
"I was waiting for the signal. Are you the one to succeed all for one?"
"Is this the power you were talking about, Kuroiri?" Shigaraki wondered, placing his father's hand on his face as the beast put the radio it wore on the ground. "So who's this?" Dabi questioned. "This must be the secret weapon Master left behind for me," Shigaraki reasoned.
"I've devoted myself to all for one. Now, successor, prove that you're worthy."
The creature roared. As it cried to itself, lamenting the weakness of All for One's successor, the beast attacked the group, destroying their hideout. "Finally a challenge!" Muscular let out, his muscle fibers piercing out of his body, covering it. As Dr. Ujiko explained Gigantomachia's situation through the radio, Dabi, Muscular, and Darkstar engaged the beast. First, Dabi let out a wall of flame, sizzling the beast, but it had little effect. Once the wall of flame subsided, Muscular jumped at the beast, hitting him square in the jaw. He landed on the ground as Gigantomachia stumbled back, jumping back at the creature, but it swatted him away as if he were a mere fly. Taking a shot, Michael unleashed one of his signature energy bolts, trying to drain the beast. The attack worked, but the energy he was absorbing had the same nutritional value as eating paper. It was filling him up without absorbing much energy.
You're so weak!
Giganto cried out, bulldozing towards Michael, intent on crushing him beneath his fist. Machia. Before the beast could even reach Darkstar, the voice of All For One sounded out of the radio. Immediately after hearing his voice, the giant prostrated himself in front of the machine, trying to listen to any commands his master might give. Muscular then returned to the battlefield, landing next to Machia and unleashing a punch. The beast barely reacted, running back towards the radio. "Aw, come on, it's no fun if he isn't fighting back," Muscular screamed out, disappointed, wanting to keep battling the beast. While Muscular surveyed his opponent disappointed, the doctor had a few words with the leader of the league. After their little chat ended, a black goo came out of their mouth, enveloping them. The last thing they heard before disappearing was, "Let's have a real chat." In mere seconds, they were teleported away from the destroyed terrain that used to be their base of operations. Instead, they found themselves in a strange underground cave filled with vials and strange, exotic technology. "Are those the robots from Mahosu?" Darkstar questioned. They were dismantled and seemed to be different, but he could still tell they were the same technology. It almost seemed alien. "Indeed, I've been asked to inspect them and try to reproduce their functions," a shadowy figure said from behind his chair. "Nomu too, huh? But I've never seen any like these before." The doctor marveled at Dabi's incredible eye, boasting about his new creations. Shigaraki wanted to borrow the doctor's power, but the doctor refused to lend his resources, deeming Shigaraki a failure. The leader of the league gave him a speech about his convictions, stating his desire to destroy the current society. The speech was childish, but it amused the doctor enough to lend Shigaraki his aid. Under one condition though. He'd have to get Gigantomachia to submit first. Dabi then expressed his interest to remain independent for a while longer. He had been eyeing a new candidate for the league. Wanting to get some help testing out his new high-ends, Dr. Ujiko requested his assistance. Dabi accepted, going on to fight Endeavor with his new toy. The rest of the league, on the other hand, were each given an earpiece and sent back to deal with Gigantomachia. "Hey, it's the return of your future king," Shigaraki boldly stated upon reappearing in the rubble mountain. That's how this whole mess started. 1.5 months. For 1.5 months, the league fought against this beast in the mountain. Their leader would usually get 2 hours of rest in between every fight with Giganto, while the rest properly cycled through their ranks to assist him. The only one who seemed to enjoy battling Gigantomachia was Muscular, who had a wide grin on his face every time they clashed. 1.5 months of fighting and the group hadn't made any progress. The boss they were fighting just had way too much HP to do any real damage. While taking a break from fighting the giants, as it had decided to rest, the group started discussing their progress. That's when a phone started ringing. "Huh? Getting a call from Giran," Twice announced as he grabbed the phone. Changing his personality, he aggressively asked why he hadn't been picking up their calls. To Twice's surprise, the man on the other side wasn't Giran. "Who are you, and where's Giran?" To Twice's question, the man just gave a suggestion. "Why don't you check the news?" Upon opening the news app, they discovered that several fingers had been spread around Japan. Finally, After the League had learned what they needed to, the leader of the Liberation Army got on the phone, exchanging a few words with Shigaraki. Once his subordinates got a pin on the League's location, he got straight to the point, revealing that the fingers belonged to Giran and that he knew their location. He threatened the League, presenting them with an ultimatum. Stand against us and be destroyed, or do nothing and be captured by the heroes. The choice is yours, Tomura Shigaraki. They were given 1 hour to decide. The group carefully examined their options, each voicing their opinion on the matter. Twice absolutely wanted to save Giran. Muscular was up for it, as well as Darkstar. One wanted to fight, and the other could get some nice energy out of the encounter. Voicing the opposition, Spinner couldn't believe they were actually considered walking into such an obvious trap. When asked for support, the doctor told them they had no Hyans or other Nomu available, so they'd be on their own. Still, Shigaraki convinced the opposition quite easily, explaining his plan to his comrades. All they had to do was stall the enemy until Gigantomachia woke up. Then, it would be game over. Using John-chan to facilitate transportation, the group, along with Dabi who was on his own at the moment, were transported to the outskirts of Deika City. Once they arrived, the group quickly filled Dabi in on the situation. "Why are you always getting me wrapped up in your shit?" he complained, receiving backlash from Twice as a result, but he honestly couldn't care less. He had other stuff going on. As they talked, someone started approaching, causing everyone in the League to ready themselves for a fight. "Not another step!" the hero called out as he got close. "I was ordered to guide you down into town. If you want to meet the Liberation Army's commander, then you best follow me, okay?" Disappointing some of the members, Shigaraki told the group to stand down. And so, the notorious League of Villains followed this lonely hero into the city. To their surprise, as they walked through it, the place was deserted. There were plenty of houses and cars, but there were no people. Then, just as the group caught on as to what was going on, they were greeted by a man wearing a fancy suit and glasses. "Thank you for making the trip, and of course, welcome. This is a day of celebration, and you're the guests of honor. Shall we begin the festivities?" he signaled. This is the day that the Metahuman Liberation Army is revived. At his sign, a large number of people ran out of the surrounding buildings, swarming the group. "We're here! Now where's Giran? You promised you'd give him back!" Twice screamed as many opponents approached. "Your broker? Waiting over there with our Grand Commander," the well-dressed man informed, pointing at the large tower at the center of town. "Off to the tower, then," Shigaraki ordered as he took care of 3 enemies, disintegrating them in mere seconds. The group followed their leader's orders, splitting up and heading to the center, but on the way, they were each intercepted by the Liberation Army soldiers. Toga was caught by Curious' group, forced to go through a bizarre and hellish interview. It ended with her badly injured, but her opponents had it far worse, as after she awakened a hidden potential within her quirk, she killed them all. Dabi was pitted against Giten, a fight that quickly devolved into a stalemate. Everyone had their battles, and for Muscular and Darkstar, it was no different. Muscular was pitted against the most physically powerful members that the Liberation Army had. He had a myriad of opponents, each with powerful quirks, delighting the muscle brute. For the man that just wanted to fight, to go on a rampage against stronger opponents, this was a dream come true. His wish was fulfilled, but he was kept busy at the same time. A similar situation occurred with Darkstar. Using their information, they sent a lot of strong opponents after him, all rather well equipped. The soldiers were told to focus on defense and redirect his attacks. Just like with Toga, who experienced a quirk evolution during their fight, the Paranormal Liberation Front's information on Michael's quirk was incomplete. They had done careful research on every member of the League, their quirks, their strengths, their weaknesses. They knew all of it, but the information they got on him was old. Their understanding of his quirk was old, primarily based on his days in high school. He was a recent addition to the league, someone known to flip-flop sides, so they assumed he would easily be persuaded onto their sides. Negotiations quickly broke down. The shields crumbled. Their strategies failed. Yes! Yes! More! He reveled in the energy he absorbed, leaving countless empty husks at his step. He felt good, better than ever before. He took off his mask, revealing a beautiful face behind it. Not the usual zombie-like complexion. He had enough energy to go on for a while. He could effectively make his way to Giran and possibly rescue him, but he didn't. Before he realized it, he lost sight of the objective. The act of consuming became his only goal in the battle. Once he killed over 50 enemy soldiers, his skin started radiating a golden glow, and he began to float in the air. Finally, he had the power he wanted and as many batteries as he needed. That's when the battle took a turn. Skeptic, who had been tormenting Twice this entire time, made a mistake. He broke Twice's arms, making him realize that he was indeed the original. Twice quickly worked through his mental trauma, unleashing an army of himself that quickly overtook the entire battlefield. The clones kept cloning other versions of Twice into existence, and before long, they managed to breach the tower and rescue Giran. Unfortunately, this distraction also allowed Shigaraki a chance to destroy the building. After fighting through all the mini-bosses in the level, he finally made it to the final boss. Destro posed quite a threat to Shigaraki, beating the boy severely, causing significant injuries. But it served to awaken Shigaraki's resolve. The muddy memories in his mind cleared up, triggering an evolution in the boy's quirk. Seeing how he lost the upper hand, the final boss entered his final stage, activating his armor. But no matter how strong it made him, Shigaraki tore it apart in seconds. But just placing a single finger on the ground, Shigaraki annihilated most of the town, leaving nothing but a crater in the dust. Had Redestro not cut his feet off, he would have been killed as well. The display of strength caused not only Redestro to submit to him, but Gigantomachia as well. The beast, sensing his master's successor in danger, came to his aid, something which proved unnecessary once he arrived. The League of Villains had won the day. As the two villainous sides clashed on Earth, in space, a boy with white, curly hair and freckles, resembling Izuku Midoriya, sat in a cell, staring out at the stars. He just sat there and stared. Occasionally, the nearest planet and star would come into view, but mostly, he could just view the stars from afar. "Mealtime, scumbag," a plumber said, sliding a yellow stick into the cell. The Galvan trapped in the useless, uncomfortable body walked to the cell door, receiving the platter. When he opened it, he found nothing but a protein stick. The same menu he had received every meal since he was imprisoned. "Will you cease it with these incredibly dull meals?" he screamed out the cell, throwing the platter against the ground in protest. "Rice, fish, even chili fries! Bring me something more nourishing!" The Galvan's screams continued as he stared out the door. The plumber just shrugged him off and walked over to the next cell. Frustrated, Albedo returned to his bed and sat down, staring out the window as he consumed his meal. To the uninformed, it would seem that he was doing nothing useful with his time. How could he? He was strapped. He wasn't even given any activities to distract himself with, so all he did was stare out that window. Most assumed that he was just passing the time, but the genius trapped in the boy's body had grown tired of the accommodations. Being trapped for more than 60 rotations like this would make anyone want to escape. Albedo tired of this place after 6. Ever since, he had been working on something in his mind, schematics. His previous project might not have turned out too well, But such a powerful weapon had many flaws. Flaws he could fix. He just had to evolve all of its features. Improve on the specs that the Omnitrix housed. He was still set on becoming the galaxy's protector, but above all else, the Galvan wanted to return to his regular form. Of course, if he was to build such a device, he'd need resources, ones he could only find on Galvan Prime. There was no way he could get them here. So, the preliminary schematics formed in his head, Albedo shifted his approach, trying to develop an escape plan. Pachoo, pachoo. The sound of blasters going off in the distance interrupted Albedo's train of thoughts. He averted his gaze back to the entrance of the cell. But as per the lockdown protocols, the blast doors had been closed, blocking his view. Even his window into space was closed. He was now completely in the dark, only the noises outside keeping him informed. As he started wondering what happened, the blast door to his cell opened up. On the other side, a being he had never seen before. A chronosapien boasting a black metallic body accentuated by red glass stood in front of him, analyzing the interior of the cell. After a moment, it seemed satisfied with what it had found.
Ah, here you are. Albedo, I presume.
The chronosapien stated as he opened the door. This would certainly serve as a nice distraction. As always, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, hit that like. 100 likes and the series will continue. 200 and it will be the next episode I make, although I have a couple other things planned, so please don't reach that too quick. That said, the intro is very short and the outro is short because I realized that a lot of people leave right after the narration's done and leave right before the narration starts. So here we are. I hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, everyone, have an absolutely fantastic day. Bye!